Hello everyone, and I hope you are doing well. Welcome to the course IELTS Skills 0 to Hero presented by Farzad Abargui. That is me. In this course, I will teach you how to improve your score in every single part of the IELTS exam, namely listening, speaking, reading, and writing. I will also provide you with so many examples and samples from all my other students that I have gathered throughout the 10 years that I have been teaching TOEFL and IELTS preparation courses. I started teaching 10 years ago when I entered university. It was my bachelor's years. I studied English literature in University of Tehran, and after that I continued it in master's in Shahid Beheshti University in Tehran again. And this is my passion. This is what I do with great joy. And I believe that is what I'm made for. I have been teaching ever since, and I have never stopped it, and I have never regretted it. And throughout this course, I'm going to be with you. I'm going to support you. You can send me all your homework. If you want, you can be in touch with me through email and throughout other social media. So let's see what this course offers actually. So firstly, I will have an introduction of what the exam is. So what is IELTS exam? As you can see on the screen, you will be introduced to different sections of the exam, and then you will have details about each section, and then some general advice in this first video on what to do in total, in general, to have a good score. And from next video onwards, you will learn actual skills, and you will learn what to do for each skill to actually improve your score. So as I said, the first part in this video is, what is IELTS? Why do we need it? And why should we take the exam? Well, IELTS stands for International English Language Testing System. It is a test designed to test the language ability of the participants. So you might want to apply for a professional position. You might want to apply for an academic position. In order to prove to the people in charge that you can speak English at the level that is desired by them, you need to prove them somehow that you actually have the knowledge. So one of the exams that is accepted by many universities, maybe all universities in the world, is IELTS exam. So that's the importance of the test. It might change someone's life, and it might change how someone's life might be from now on. And there are so many students that I've had so far who could actually transform their lives, actually do something good and do something great, something that they have always wanted. Being admitted by a good university, being employed by a great company. So that all starts from knowing the language. And of course, there are so many people who have an acceptable general knowledge of English language, but when it comes to exams, they don't know what to do. This course can be useful for these people. So people who are at an acceptable level, maybe intermediate or upper intermediate, and people who want to improve their knowledge of the whole exam, of what the exam is. So this course could be useful for both of these groups. So now let's see what each section is and what it includes. So as you know, IELTS exam has 4 sections: listening, reading, writing, and speaking, exactly in that order. Of course, where I live, the speaking part of the exam is held on a different day, on a separate day, and it is mostly one session for all of the written parts, and there's another session for the speaking. So the listening part of the exam includes 4 sections. Each section has 10 questions, and in total we have 30 minutes to listen and answer the questions. And at the end, we have 10 minutes to transfer our answers to the answer sheet. You need to answer as you're listening, so you will not be able to listen again. And that is the most important part about listening part of the exam. In the reading section, we have 3 passages, 20 minutes for each passage, 40 questions, and in total we have 60 minutes to read the passages and answer the questions. The next part is the writing part, which I believe is the most difficult part, since many students do not know how to write, even in their own native language. So it's half of it is about the knowledge of English, and the other half is about how you think, which is what we are going to focus on in this course. Of course, it doesn't mean that I will not provide you with maybe collocations, vocabulary, grammatical structures that are useful. I will give you everything that you need. Also, I will work on the development of the text, of the passages, of how you structure your text or your speaking. So we have 2 tasks which differ. In the first one, regarding whether or not you are taking an academic exam or a general one. In the general exam, we have a letter, and in the academic one, we have a graph, chart, whatever. You need to describe it. And the second task is actually the same. There's no difference between the academic one and the general one. The speaking section actually has 3 parts, 3 different parts. Part 1, introductory questions. Part 2, longer questions. And part 3, discussions. So it will take about 11 to 14 minutes, respectively 4, 5, 4, or 3, 4, 3 minutes. Between actually 11 to 14 minutes is what this part takes. Now let's see the details in each of the sections. So in listening, as I said it, we had 4 sections, 1, 2, 3, and 4, which is called parts now. Doesn't make any difference. In part 1 and 3, we have a conversation, and in part 2 and 4, we have a lecture. Part 1 and 2 are about general everyday topics. Part 3 and 4 are about academic ideas, academic topics. So as you know, conversations are easier to understand since it is, well, mostly informal, and they include questions that might give you the hint of where to pay more attention. But lectures are generally more difficult regarding the vocabulary they use, and that actually in lectures we have only one person talking, which makes it difficult to pay attention to the important detail. Of course, it means we should pay more attention to the vocabulary that they use, the cohesive devices or whatever that can hint towards the main ideas, the details, etc. In the listening part, you need to listen and answer at the same time, and you have access to questions before you can listen to the files. So in every single part, you will have about 30 seconds period to look at the questions and see and read them ahead. Between each part, you have a break, except part 4. Part 4 is the only part that does not have a break in the middle of it, so you have to listen from the beginning to the end without a pause, without a break. But the other parts, 1, 2, and 3, have a break in between them as well. So it means that before part 1 starts, you have some seconds, about 30 seconds, to read ahead about the first 5 questions. Then in the middle of it, you will have some time to read the rest of the questions. And then you will have time after part 1 ends to read ahead the questions about part 2. So this goes on until part 4. And about part 4, you have only time to read ahead once. So you will not have time to read the next half of the questions. I strongly suggest that you do not revise your answers in these breaks and pauses. The 10 minutes that will be given to you at the end of the exam are more than enough. That 10-minute time is more than enough for you to transfer your answers and revise them if you want. Because if you lose one part, it may mean that you may lose 3 or 4 questions. That happens. That actually happens when students leave 3 questions unanswered just because they didn't pay attention to 1 or 2 sentences. So it's very important not to fall behind. That's why I suggest You do not revise, only focus on the questions ahead of you. And when we go to the reading section, we have to divide it into two parts: the academic one and the general one. Of course, there's no difference in the format of the questions. Only the material will differ. The academic exam will include passages from academic journals, articles, and things that are a little bit more difficult to understand, more specific, but they are totally not in total. They are prepared for people who are actually general audience. They are specific, but not too specific. About when it comes to general exam, the readings are generally easier, and they are about general topics. It could include anything. Each part will have about 13, maybe 14, sometimes 12 questions. 20 minutes to read the questions, and each passage is about 8 paragraphs. And of course, the questions may get more difficult as you pass through the next part and the next part and the next part. And passage 3 is usually the most difficult one, just as in listening. The only thing that is important in reading is that you need to have the ability to read fast, and not too fast and not too slow. You need to be able to read them in a logical pace. So that's all that you need to know so far, up to now, so far, about reading part of the IELTS exam. The writing task is very difficult. I believe it's worth your attention the most. Because most of the students, they just write the ideas without any development. They have scattered ideas. They do not support their ideas. That's the most important part, I believe. So depending on whether you choose academic or general module, you will have in part 1 a letter writing for general exam and a graph chart description in the second in the academic one for task 1. Task 2, as I said, is the same. In task 1 you have 20 minutes to write at least 150 words minimum, and in task 2 you have 40 minutes, as you can see in the picture on the screen. You have 40 minutes to write at least 40 words, 250 words, and that's the minimum, of course. But mostly students do not write more than 300 because that takes too much time and you cannot develop the ideas. You are less likely to develop the ideas in that part. And you might ask, what is the difference between academic and general exams? Well, of course, I told you what the difference is regarding the material, but if you want to apply for a professional position, you mostly need a general exam. But if you want to apply for an academic one, you will need an academic module of the test. So when it comes to the speaking section, we have 3 parts, as I said. First one, 4 to 5 minutes. The second one, 4 minutes, and the last one, 4 to 5 minutes again. As I said, 11 to 14 minutes. Part 1 includes introductory questions, questions about everyday material, maybe topics for small talk, like what is your favorite color, for example, or what is your favorite band or singer. But you have to provide general ideas, like simple, short ideas. And part 2 includes cue cards. You'll be given a topic. You will need to think about it. You will need to provide an answer, support your reasons and ideas through examples and maybe details. And part 3, detailed questions, include questions that encourage you to discuss an idea. You need to discuss it in detail. It's a mix of part 1 and 2. It means that you have to provide the answer without prior thinking. And of course, you cannot be providing answers as short as part 1 answers. And now let's see what general advice I can offer you about this test. I mean, when I took it, I saw many students all worried about different things. I took the test in last January of 2020, and I saw students who were worried about things that are not important. Many of them were worried about pencils. Some of them worried about whether they can have water or watches with them in the session. These are not what you need to be worried about. What you actually need to be worried about is that you need to work on all of your skills. Some people say, maybe I should work on my listening only, or maybe I need to work on my speaking only. If you work on one of your skills, it will be your English language knowledge will be like a child who hasn't been raised equally in different parts of the body, in different body parts. Like the growth of the body is limited in some parts and not limited in other parts. So don't forget to actually improve all of your skills: reading, writing, listening, speaking. Don't forget to improve your vocabulary and grammar. Vocabulary and grammar are very important, but they are not everything. You need to change the way you are thinking. Some of the questions are actually not only about vocabulary and grammar. So as I said, vocabulary and grammar are not everything, and you need to work on all of your skills. The way you think, that is very important. Some students also try to rush things. They try to, for example, I have seen students who come to me and say they want to take the test in 2 months, and their level of English, their level of general knowledge of the language is maybe pre-intermediate. That's not what you need to do. Actually, you should provide, you should give yourself some time. If you want to take the exam, you should actually be able to improve all of your skills. It takes time. I should tell you that it takes time. You need to be patient. You need to be consistent. You need to work on all of your skills every day. A portion of your day should be devoted to this. And keep it cool. Don't rush things, and don't expect too much from yourself. And practice, practice, practice. It does make perfect. It does make miracles happen. Like, if you practice enough, of course, all that your teacher has is the practice that they have had throughout the years. For example, so many students try to compare themselves with me as their teacher when it comes to writing, listening, speaking, and reading. And they will say, when can I be like you? The answer is, you don't need to be like your teacher. Your teacher is doing this for a living, and it means that they are in daily exposure of the knowledge that you are only studying for a while. So it is only natural that through more practice, they are more professional in this field. So the more you practice, the better your score will be. And this is the end of the first video, the introduction to IELTS exam from the course IELTS Skills 0 to Hero, presented by Farzad Abargui. So in this video, we talked about what the IELTS exam is, different sections, details of each section, and thank you very much for watching. I hope you liked the first video. If you want to start right away, you can go on to the next video, which is offered to you, of course. You can read the examples after you have watched it. Make sure that you first watch the video for this specific skills, and after that you can read the sample or listen to them, read the samples and listen to the samples that I have provided you with on the website, which you can of course download. And if you want to be in contact with me, in touch with me, you can contact me through my email. Don't hesitate to ask any question that you have. I will be warmly answering them. I will be glad if you ask me questions. The more questions you ask, it means the more you have understood. And the more you understand, well, of course, the better your score will be. So again, thanks for watching. Stay with us, and there's a lot more where this came from. Have a good day.